Hi, I have asked a whole bunch of you recently if you would um, record something for me about having ME, and I decided that if I've asked you, I should be willing to do it myself. Um, I'm not in a good place today, but I'm in a better place than I was yesterday. Um, I've also had to write this down because I have no memory. Somebody said to me who was yesterday about grieving, and I think that's something that's really important to say. I grieve um, almost daily for the person that I used to be. Just over 2 years ago, I was a different person to the person I am right now. Um, and I was physically active. I was not a lazy person. I worked ludicrous hours. I walked and climbed and ran and everything else. And it's it's a different life that I have now. Um, so here we go. So like many, I was diagnosed with CFS, and it was a very throwaway diagnosis. I was told you may get better, you probably won't, but there's nothing that we can do about it. Um, and I was told that probably my type A personality was to blame. It was suggested that my symptoms were manifestations of my personality. And another doctor that I saw suggested that I stop sleeping when I need to, and that I should sleep only between certain hours at night, even if I didn't sleep, and that I should still go out and maybe go for a bike ride. And I have not been, I'm just going to move slightly because it's really uncomfortable, sorry. I've not been back to the doctor about it since, because, yeah, sorry, I'm having to hold this. Um, for those of you who don't know, CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, and ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, are the same thing. Do not think that one is more important than the other. That is an issue that we have had for many, many years now. Um, so, yeah, sorry. My ME changes almost from hour to hour. I have peaks and I have troughs. And sometimes they're within the same hour. They are from minute to minute. Sometimes they can be one day to the next day. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're extreme. I'm just coming out of an extreme one. A thing that most of us have is the constant tiredness that becomes proper exhaustion, sometimes after even just like 30 minutes. I went to an aquarium for my birthday, which was lovely, and I walked around looking at the fish for an hour and a half, and I had to spend 3 days in bed afterwards. That's the reality of this condition. I get vibrations through my whole body. I get a weird, like a rocking sensation. I feel like I'm shaking or I'm rocking, but I'm not. I feel ill all the time, like I've got a really bad cold. And when it's at its worst, it feels like flu. And I'm not talking. I'm just going to move this because my hand's losing grip. We're not talking like I've got flu. I think I've got flu. We're talking like full on. You can't move. You can't breathe. Everything. All your glands swell up. You feel so unwell. I've been in the situations where I've actually had to crawl. I've had to crawl to the toilet. You just don't want to eat. All you want to do is lie in a dark room and cry if it wasn't so exhausting. Yesterday I had one of the times I have where my brain stops talking to bits of my body. So sometimes I lose grip in my hands because my brain just shuts down, and it's like you forget how to do normal things, and I stop being God, this is 5 minutes long already. God, I just, so much to say. My brain stops talking to my legs as well, and they just collapse out from under me. I had that yesterday. I'm having to read, so I apologise for keeping looking down. And I rattle into walls. I can't walk in a straight line. I bang into walls. And you end up looking like you're drunk, and you're not. I'm always cold. Before I got ill, I was never cold. I was one of those people who was always like really, really warm. My hands and my feet are always frozen, even if I'm getting I get like hideous like sweats sometimes. Light can be too bright. It's okay today. It wasn't yesterday. And I have to sit in the dark. If you ask my husband, sometimes smells are insane. It's like your body, like your senses just go into overdrive, and you can't quite figure anything out, and it really upsets me. I make him clean all the bins out. I make him clean everything out. I can smell things so strongly. It's insanely powerful. And I have depression and anxiety, and it's an effect of this. It's not a cause. Wouldn't you have depression and anxiety if you went through this? And the worst effect for me has been mental. I massively prided myself on my intelligence, really, about being a smart, clever, capable woman. And I was a teacher. I used to teach secondary history, and now I have no short-term memory. It's the reason I've had to write this down. I can't remember what I've said seconds before. Sorry, it's quite nervy doing this. I repeat myself and I panic. I know I do. I become absent in the middle of sentences. That's interesting. You kind of just stop talking. Oh God, this is so hard to hold. I'm just so exhausted. I'm just going to prop. Sorry. I'm going to do it like that. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Yeah, so I become absent in the middle of sentences, and I'll just stop talking. And sometimes I zone out and I don't hear what's been said. Just moving things around. God, I'm so sorry. It's so tiring to do anything. And I lose hours sometimes. I will just not remember anything, and I'll have just been sitting and staring for hours. And my speech, God, this is really unprofessional. My speech slows down, and I forget words, and I make words up. So I panic. Yesterday, I can think what I want to say, but I can't actually say it. So yesterday, I had in my head, I thought to say, well, that's as good as you're going to get from my brain today. And what I actually said was, that's top of the brain. It's bizarre. It's like being drunk, and it's, oh God, just beeping and booping. This is horrible. And people who don't have this try to sympathise. I'm moving again because I'm just struggling with this. People try to sympathise, and they say, oh, that happens to me, or like, oh, I forget things all the time, and other kind of platitudes like that. And Or if you see them, you've basically had to spend 3 days in bed, and you've had to spend 4 hours getting ready because you're so embarrassed about looking like this and feeling like this. You make yourself, you push yourself, and they see you, people who haven't seen you for ages, and they go, "Oh, you look really well. Oh, you must be getting better. You look really good. You look lovely." And you want to sometimes physically slap them and go, "You do not see me at my worst, because I refuse to see you, because I am so upset and embarrassed about how I feel." And it feels like we're being dismissed all the time, our symptoms and our pain, and it's not your fault. You don't see this. You don't see the reality, you don't see the truth of this illness, because we hide it, because we are scared of who we've become, because it is so different and so upsetting. So we don't want platitudes. We just want understanding, and we want support, and we want some help. And the governments aren't raising money to help us, and so we're trying to do it ourselves, which is really hard when you're like this. It's crazy. There's a massive overlap between the symptoms you'll see in someone with MS and somebody who has CFS or ME, except there's funding for one and no funding for the other. And so we're doing what we can. So this is what I'm going to say. Please support us in any way you can. It doesn't have to be financial, though that would be amazing. Even if it is literally going through life being a little bit more understanding of what CFS or ME is. If you know somebody, if you meet someone who tells you that they have this, and or says that they can't come and see you because of it, don't abandon them, and don't give kind of throwaway comments. Just give them a hug and tell them that you're sorry, and tell them that you'll be there, and that you'll do what you can to help them. God, sometimes it is, if you're around at their house, it is making them a cup of tea and not expecting them to do it themselves, because people do, and it is knackering. Even that is tiring. You will have to sleep afterwards. My face is just swollen up because I feel so unwell. I'm really sorry. Just, if you can't give money, give compassion. That's it. Try to be understanding that this is really difficult for us. And that is me done, because I feel really unwell and I need to go back to sleep, because that's what it's like. So thank you for paying attention for 14 minutes if you've watched all of this, and thank you.